Hello, everyone. My name is Alexander Ermenkov. I'm a ruling reality coach, and I'm continuing my series in 2024, Ruling Reality as Alex. So, if some of you know, I'm already 50 years old. So, I don't know if I'm a little bit more wise, but for sure, now I'm entering a new decade between the 50s and the 60s, in which decade, when I was contemplating about it, I'm expecting to 10x everything that I have done in my years up to 50. So I'm going to have a little bit less space because before this I had 50 years. Now I have 10 years in which I'm able to 10x everything that I have done as an impact, as an influence, as an inner development within myself, within my relationships, and so on. With the first 50 years, now I'm 10xing all of this in the next 10 years. Why I feel so confident that this is possible and that this is something that is up to the coherence of what is around me and the ecosystem that I have been building during my first 50 years. And now, when I'm entering in this new decade, it is much more confident because I have a very big compounding foundation, which is helping me to expand a lot of exponential type of growth in different areas of my own personal reality. And today I would like to speak about reality outsourcing because, as you know, when I speak, some of you are watching my videos, some of you are watching them in YouTube, some one of you are watching them when I'm live on Facebook, for which I'm very thankful. But for me, it's much more interesting when I'm communicating with some of you and when we are discussing actually the topics that are dear to my heart and which are making me passionate. And I enjoy discussing reality with my kids, with my coworkers, with friends from Christianity, with friends which are non-religious, with different type of people, and I'm discussing different things that are dear to my heart, and I'm really interested when I'm working with people and speaking with people, and they're just asking me questions. And of course, the beautiful thing about reality, and that all of us don't know. We are constantly exploring. And when I'm meeting more of you that are also in this explorational mode, it just makes me much more happier. And that's why today, when I was speaking last time about the egregors and how mighty and powerful and long lasting are some of them, then of course I would like now to counterbalance the egregorial type of reality where it is, even if we like it or don't like it, these type of structures are part of the construct into the reality which we are experiencing on a daily basis. And that's why I would like to speak today more about the outsourcing power that we have to outsource our own personal abilities, our own personal impacts, and our own personal responsibilities to these types of egregors. We are doing it usually is if it's okay to do it or not. It is up to each one of us to decide. But for my 50 years of experience, because now we are in the ruling reality as Alex, I'm just going to give you some examples how I have decided to not outsource different things into my reality to the egregors. And I'm going to start maybe with the most fundamental part of reality, and it was about the birth of our children. For example, our first two children were born through the hospital system, but with our third child, we were so grown up into what reality is that we decided that we are going to do it in the most natural way. And actually, our third child was born in our own personal house, and it was born by me personally and my wife. And what is happening when we decided not to outsource our children to the healthcare system to birth them for us. We decided not to use this egregorial structure. Of course, maybe for some of us it's more convenient to use it, but it is good for all of us to have options, not to be dependent and not to be obliged to use the egregores. Those of us who are willing to use them, let them use them. Those of us who have decided that there are more natural ways and that want to involve themselves into not giving up our own personal responsibility to the egregores, let us have this option, and it is allowed in the reality to have it. So we have birthed our third child in home. It was never vaccinated because of this, not even the first vaccine or any vaccine from the moment it is born till today. We are 14 years old with him, for example. And the first two childs were with a cesarean. They were also not naturally born because the health system decided so and so on. When you go to the egregor, you are obliged to do everything as the egregor decides. So if the health system tell me how my child and children are going to be born, I am to comply. So I complied with the first two children, but with the third children, we took this authority and responsibility upon ourselves as a family. And the child came into my own personal hands. I was the one who cut the umbilical cord. I was the one who was dealing with the placenta and so on and so on. But it is a long story. It is just showing you how, during my own personal reality, I have decided to not use egregores for a lot of things. Also, if it comes about prosperity and money, I have decided a long time ago not to depend on somebody else or the outside egregores just to do the work for me without me taking the responsibility. That's why I have been born into the communist type of societies where the egregor is so huge that you, a human individualized consciousness, does not have to do anything. The government, the party, the mighty egregor is thinking daily about the common good and is thinking daily about every human being. What is going to be its healthcare system? What is going to be the social system? What is going to be in the working environment? What are we going to have as the consumptions? And what are we going to watch? And of course, long term, what are we going to think and what are we going to feel? It is part of this egregorial environment that is created, and it is powerful only if the human individual being is outsourcing its own power and resources to it. But some of you can say, Alex, it's a little bit contradicts with your previous message where you said that you are using the egregores. And of course, I'm using egregores, but I'm not outsourcing the responsibility for my personal life, for my personal reality, for all the impacts I'm doing upon them. And that's why I can never blame anyone, nothing from the outside reality about my current state of being, my current state of havingness, and my current state of doingness, of everything that is coming outside of myself. And maybe I'm going to give you another example of how we are, as a family, decided not to use the egregores. All our three children were never been in the educational system of society, because we decided one thing: we don't want human beings that are educated, but we want human beings who are able to think, who are strongly into creating their own personal reality and thought processes that are different than everything else. And so we went into the homeschooling system where we wanted to encourage our own children to really have a hunger and desire to know, not just to know the narrative, to know all the different alternatives, and long term, they to decide them for themselves which type of walk and paths they are going to do. So my bigger daughter, now it's 20, my second son is 16, and my third son is 13, and they've never been through the educational system that is provided as an egregor for every one of us. I have decided to take ownership. It didn't cost me less. It cost me maybe 10, 20 times more to invest a lot of energy and resources. Of course, I haven't done the teaching and everything myself. I have hired private teachers to work specifically and only with my children, to be like a private mentors for them, in order long term they to know that teacher and a student, mentor and a disciple is a relationship where you are extracting knowledge, but also you are constantly asking questions. When you don't know, you are not ashamed to ask, because this is the reason of education, to show to each other through closeness how much we don't know, and how much and what big vastness of exploration there is for all of us. And when I decided to not outsource to the egregores this part of our personal reality, now I'm very happy with the results. Of course, my ego is not happy because my 3 children, which are now teenagers and grown up, they have their own personal mindfulness, mindset, way of thinking that is even different than mine, and I cannot influence them or impact them directly, but we are constantly in a situation where we can discuss, we can debate, each one can respect the other's opinion, and so on and so on. And basically, instead of creating a dogmatic structures, we are now much more open with each other, and we have created an environment in our family where everyone is striving into different directions of understanding, and there is actually a much more collaboration in this area. And also the beautiful thing is that going through the educational processes without using the egregor of the educational system, my children actually love knowledge much more and are willing and understanding that education is power, but without using this egregor directly. Of course, are they going to the universities? They are going, but now they're much more prepared. They're much more individualized thinking beings, which know that you never take for granted any knowledge, and you are not allowing to any knowledge to limit you into narrative boxes. Are my children going to become a conspiracy theorist type of closed-minded, dogmatic people? I'm sure not, because they have educated themselves to spot the limitations of the narratives already. When we go to the egregorial system, what is happening is that we are used to comply, to become a compliant beings, because it's much more easy, it's much more comfortable to stay. into the narrative boxes and to comply, instead to use what is inside of us as power, as collapsing quantum possibilities, to go outside of any boxes and to enter the limitlessness of life that exists for every individual consciousness that me and you are. And these are just two examples which were so powerful during my experience till now, to know how to look at the egregores, how to respect them that they exist, how to know that they are willing to give us the good benefits that are for us, but also I to be personally responsible when and how and to what extent to use and to what extent to do myself everything that the egregore is trying to provide it free of charge for me. A lot of times we go to the egregores in order to have a specific feeling or to outsource our responsibilities to them. But if we do it, we are not the one who are to later complain. For example, that Christianity is bad because the egregore of the Catholic Church, the egregore of the Protestant organization, the egregores of everything that we the human beings have created as organization, and it is the same with all the other type of religions. And I can give you much more examples of why I, as a human being, have decided to never have another source than the invisible and outside reality existence of God as a source of everything that is coming into my reality, and to not ever acknowledge that the egregores are the ones that are providing me with all the benefits. Yes, we use them as indirect power. For example, let's say that in our European Union egregore, there is a common structure of defense. And because of this structure of defense, now I'm able to experience security. And I feel secure. I'm not using guns. I don't need to have my own tanks and so on. Though there are a lot of examples that even if I decide, like the Americans, for example, to take the responsibilities for my own security, I can start investing even in this area long term in order to create my own personal security system. I'm not willing to do it for now because, of course, I'm using to some extent this egregore of security structure of the NATO, European, and so on security alliances, where a lot of billions of euro for security are given. But I know also that there are constraints, and I also know that long term, if I think that this is my security, this type of egregore is my security, I'm going to go into outsourcing what is my responsibility to somebody else. And that's why I'm using these different examples of outsourcing to show you that it is up to us to know and to distinguish all the time and to be able to disidentify ourselves from the different egregores. Yes, I am a Bulgarian. Yes, I'm a European, which means that I belong and I'm under these two different egregores. Yes, I'm under the NATO membership, for example, but long term, the responsibility for who I am is my own personal, and there is no difference between me, a Russian, an Ukrainian, an Indian, a Chinese, an American. The responsibility for us being together in peace, in harmony, in collaboration is obliged and it is a responsibility for and to the individual. Yes, the collective is good to work to some extent, but it's not only the collective. The collective cannot exist if we as individuals are not outsourcing. So this is the balance that I wanted to give to you with my examples and to show you that we need to respect the egregores, but also we need to know where is our power and how the strong and long-term responsibility for each of us is to know that we are to create our own connection with the source in order not to fall under the government of these egregores. So this is all for today. This is all I was willing to share on the 26th of February 2024, is to know that, of course, a lot of things are allowed to be outsourced in the reality that we are working with, but never forget, and let us never forget, that always the responsibility, always the accountability for everything that is happening, for everything that we are allowing, is ours. And only when we are rulers of our own personal reality as a mindset, then we will never give away our responsibility. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye, and enjoy your own personal reality. Bye-bye.